what the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are. I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
Greetings, salutations to Safe to Serve International and first-time viewers. Welcome to this midday power surge, your spiritual oasis on this pilgrim journey. I'm your host, Andrew Henriquez. We're here, and praise the Lord. We want to get right into the subject matter. We're going to be covering 2 primary questions. Why is it the scoundrels and the tyrants are presently promoting a plant-based diet? What you're going to see, it is a counterfeit movement. And secondly, it is being promoted to actually hinder the proclamation and the reception of God's everlasting gospel of Revelation chapter 14, verse 6 through verse 12. And that's why this lesson is so important. And secondly, why are those tyrants building more detention facilities, more detention camps, more prisons in all 50 states here in America and even globally? Why? We're being told that they are preparing to place government dissidents in those facilities. I wonder who those people are going to be placed in those facilities. Friends, here it is. Let's begin with the first, and then the second segment will cover the building of more detention facilities in all states here in America. Here it is, friends. As the cliche goes, whoever controls the food controls the people. And that is a fulfillment of the scriptures. The third temptation of Satan to Christ. In Matthew chapter 4 and verse 8 through verse 10, Satan said, "Look at the kingdoms and the glory of them. All these things will I give unto you if you fall down and worship me." In other words, if I control the systems, control the supply chain, control businesses, commerce, and transactions, then I will control the people, and they'll have to bow to me and even worship falsely. Does that make sense? It is connected to Revelation 13, verse 15 through verse 17. You won't be able to buy or sell except you receive the mark of the beast, except you worship falsely the beast and its image. That's the time we're now living in. Now, it says, WEF, how to reimagine our food systems for a post-pestilence pandemic world. So the WEF and the Rockefeller Foundation are preparing to reset the table. Table you eat from. Reset the table. They want to control the supply chain and control the food supply. Watch this right here. This is Reset the Table, the Rockefeller Foundation. Meeting the moment to transform the U.S. food system. What's wrong with the U.S. food system? Why do they want to transform it? Why? And this transformation, they tell us, must take place before 2030. Transforming how we eat, a critical accelerator towards 2030 development goals. Who says that? The UN chief, deputy, and the actual general secretary. 3 organizations actually saying the same thing. Let's do this before 2030. Well, here is America, envoy, Ambassador John Kerry. Hear what he says.
Agriculture contributes about 33% of all the emissions of the world, depending a little bit on how you count it, but it's anywhere from 26 to 33. And we can't get to net zero. We don't get this job done unless agriculture is front and center as part of the solution.
So to combat climate change, get to net zero, yes, we must control agriculture, farming, and the food supply. What you partake and consume on your table. Here is John Kerry again.
And you just can't continue to both warm the planet while also expecting to feed it. Doesn't work. So we have to reduce emissions from the food system to keep the 1.5 degrees alive. Why do we have to keep 1.5 degrees alive? Because
Enough. So we see America, its leaders are a part of this tyrannical movement to control the food supply chain. Now, do you see how many organizations were aforementioned? Here is now the WHO Secretary Tedros. He states it's time to implement an animal-free based food system. Animal-free. And then he's going to say specifically plant-based. Watch this. This is the Daily Wire publication. The World Economic Forum article calls for, quote unquote, reinventing the global food system. It praises animal-free products. This came out June 15th, 2024. Now notice specifically what the WHO and the WEF mean when they say animal-free product. They mean plant-based foods. Watch this. There it is. WEF now stating it's time to implement, listen, alternative proteins, of course, to combat, watch carefully, climate change. Look at the first sentence. The very same words Tedros of WHO is going to say, watch carefully. Many of the ways we grow, manufacture, and consume food are causing a double crisis of human and environmental health. As a result, we must reinvent and introduce alternative proteins. Don't forget those words from WEF. Here's WHO Tedros. Same words, plant-based diet.
Our food systems are harming the health of people and planet.
There it is.
Food systems contribute to over 30% of greenhouse gas emissions and account for almost 1/3 of the global burden of disease. Transforming food systems is therefore essential by shifting towards healthier, diversified, and more plant-based diets.
More what? Plant-based diet. How are they going to do this, friends? You'll be shocked based on what I'm going to share with you. If I stated it and did not prove and confirm it, you would think it's my own opinions and it's speculation. What they're telling us is the tyrants with their tyrannical system are going to become our personal health coach, our personal diet coach, dietitian, our personal food coach. Imagine that. How are they going to do it? They're going to use the global digital only society and AI, artificial intelligence technology, to personalize a health, diet, and food just for you. Does that not sound good? Oh, the government loves us. Don't be deceived. Here it is. Watch carefully. WEF. In addition to alternative proteins, the food industry can also reinvent through personalized nutrition. How would they do that? Advances in technology, such as AI and data analytics, could create diets unique to an individual's genetic makeup, lifestyle factors, and health goals. In other words, personalized nutrition. Imagine that now they take over your refrigerators, your pantries. Now you let them into your home. Don't take my words for it. Do you know what the cliche say? The idiom says, if you want to hide things from people, what must we do? Put it in a book, Evangelist Jared. Here it is right here. Thank you. Here it is. Reset the table. Look at page number 18. Now that's small print. Look at the two paragraphs in that red box. Hear what it says. The shifts outlined in this paper will all be made possible and strengthened by a comprehensive access to data in real time. There's untapped potential to combine data across safety net systems to understand who is using which public program and when. Mercy. Let that sink in. An infusion of data analytic capabilities across the system would help to better forecast and meet need. State agencies, what? State agencies should systematically leverage data they collect on households, such as income, to facilitate enrollment by bringing together unemployment, household income, and other census and survey data. In other words, they come to knock on your door. May I help you, sir? May I help you, ma'am? Yes, we are from the government and we're here to collect information because of the government census. How will you respond? Then President Reagan said, the 9 most terrifying words in the English language. I'm from the government and I'm here to help you. Next paragraph says, finally, these advancements need to be accompanied on the screen. These advancements need to be accompanied by a critical investment in broadband access. 42 million Americans lack broadband access that is essential to shifts to online enrollment. Watch now. Online purchasing of food. What? Yes. Direct farm to consumer purchasing, telemedicine, teleconsultations, as well as education, finance, and employment. This is a fundamental resiliency and equity gap, and we need to close it urgently. Let that sink in, my friends. In other words, they are going to be able to track your buying, all your transactions in real time. For what purpose? They will say, well, so we can be your personal health, diet, and food coach. Would you not love that? And we can combat climate change and save you and the planet? Deception. Here is a candidate running for mayor of London, Shyam Batra. Hear what he says to confirm what you just heard. And friends, bear in mind, if I had played this video from this politician, you would think it is his own opinion. But remember, this article just confirmed it. It's right there. Rockefeller, WHO, WEF, here he is now.
The 15-minute cities is something that the WEF has created called C40, and it's called C40 cities. I would urge you to certainly look on the internet about it and then go to all of the TikTokers and see what they're really saying. Basically, you won't be able to drive a petrol or diesel car anymore. You'll have to buy electric. If you want food, you will get a calorie-controlled system sent to you by text saying, this is what you can eat today. This is what you can have today. If you violate any of these things, they'll freeze your bank account. That is the next step. These are stages in which they're going to implement this stuff. And this was signed up by the WEF and the...
You see? Now, if I were to ask those of you in the studio what you had for breakfast, what would you say? Now, what if the tyrants told you that is causing climate change crises? You see my point now, friends? They're coming into your homes. And if you notice, the context was people who live within the cities. There it is. Those who live where? In the cities.
If you want food, you will get a calorie-controlled system sent to you by text saying, this is what you can eat today. This is what you can have today. If you violate any of these things, they'll freeze your bank account. That is the next step.
Do you see it, my friends? And now we have Catherine Fitz actually exposing this, stating tyrants can't get complete financial control unless they first control the food chain supply, the supply chain. Here she is. Listen, clip one.
One of the things, that you see when you fight, at this level, trying to protect freedom, is they can't get financial control unless they can control the food supply. Because people can always start their own currencies as long as they can grow food and they have animal protein. And so if you look at the push for financial control and CBDCs or things like CBDCs, it's the same push. They're pushing to control the food supply. And
Notice, and then she's going to go on to state that what we're seeing, it is a working tandem between big pharma and the food industry. And she calls it, in a book that they wrote and published, Pharma Foods, not F-A-R-M, pharma, P-H-A-R-M-A, Pharma Foods. Clip 2, watch.
supply. So you and I discussed pharma food.
Yes.
Which we published before, Dutch Farmers and Fishermen. So this is an entire study on synthetic food, including lab-grown meat and insect-based flour.
Bioengineered.
Bioengineered. It's basically the pharmaceutical industry taking over the food supply. So the idea is we get rid of farmers, we kill any naturally grown food, and we engineer food in manufacturing plants and laboratories.
And that's the key. I'm wondering, why is it so difficult for people not to see who the great puppet master is? Pharma Foods?
So you and I discussed pharma food.
Yes.
So you and I discussed pharma food.
Yes.
So you and I discussed
One more
pharma
time,
food.
4.
Yes.
So you and I discussed pharma food.
Here it is, friends. Pharma Foods. Pharma is actually coming from the Bible. In Revelation 18, verse 2 and verse 3, Babylon controls the kings and the merchants. Don't forget that. And Babylon in verse 23 of chapter 18 of Revelation also is linked and promoting and using sorceries. The word sorceries in the Greek means pharmakia, sorcery, witchcraft, drugs, medicine, poisons. So who is Babylon, my friends? Babylon is popery. That's the connection. The mother of harlots, and who claims to be the mother church. Pharma food. Just as you see Pope Francis, the Jesuit, and the general leader of the Jesuit Society, the Black Pope, presently, Arturo Sosa. Puppet masters. Let's get back to Catherine Fitz now stating, once they control your financial transactions, then they can dictate what foods you can eat in your home. Watch this. Anybody here likes pizza? Again. Caesar? Evangelist Caesar? Not Little Caesar I'm talking about, but Evangelist Caesar. And not dairy cheese pizza or flesh-based pizza, but plant-based pizza. And by the way, it's not insect flour pizza.
Here's what you need to understand. One of the reasons I'm working and I'm so committed to preventing financial transaction control is that is what they are planning on to feed you synthetic lab-grown meat. No one in their right mind would ever eat this stuff. But the reality is what they're hoping is that once they have control of your transactions, they can dictate your health policies and they can dictate what food you can and cannot buy. So if they don't want you buying pizza, you can't buy pizza. If they want you to buy pizza made with insect-based flour, that's what you're going to get.
Just make sure you make my pizza and put on toppings such as pineapples. Do I hear amen or no? Okay, only one amen in the studio. All right, friends. And I notice in the Bible, did Babylon anciently, Nebuchadnezzar, dictate to the whole world a health protocol, diet protocol, food protocol? That's Daniel chapter 1. Even though it was flesh and liquor, you're seeing the actual repetition, but a slight difference. It's all about control, whether it's plant-based or flesh-based. Give me my options. Do not strip away my liberty of conscience. And as it was with ancient Babylon, so it with modern Babylon. You might think, Catherine Fitz is simply giving her opinions. No, they would never force us and dictate to what we can eat. All right, in connection with the central bank digital currency. Well, Let's see if what she's saying is actually fact. This is the deputy director of the IMF. Hear what he says about CBDCs and control of your food and what you eat in your home around your table. Here he is.
By programming CBDC, those money can be precisely targeted for what kind of people can own and what kind of use this money can be utilized. For example, for food.
Do you see it? Clip 2. Stay right there. Clip 2.
One example in China, because I personally experienced it, right?
China.
Those transaction data can be utilized by service providers in credit underwriting, in the sense that, those transaction data in terms of how many coffee I drink every day, where I buy coffee, do I use Uber every day, and what kind of working hours I have. Those non-traditional data
Do you see it, Trent?
can be very useful for financial service providers to give me a credit score.
A credit score.
And based on that credit score,
Enough. It's all connected. I'll give it this one.
We're developing, through technology, an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So, individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay
Friends,
tuned. We don't.
I'm going to say this right now, and please don't miss this. When I was contemplating on the perspective and the angle to approach all these aforementioned current events from, I thought about this. This is the controversy going on. We can see a counterfeit health system. Go back and take a look at the book Great Controversy and page 587, the chapter entitled The Liberty of Conscience, the impending conflict, that in the last days, the tyrants would promote temperance and even a particular diet, which is biblical, but connected with it is going to be a false system of worship. Do you know right now, Satan's plan is to hinder the reception of a plant-based diet, which is linked to the everlasting gospel, because those in the world are going to say those who promote a plant-based diet are actually connected to the tyrants who are promoting a plant-based diet. That is the controversy. Here it is, my friends. Please don't miss it. We're told in Spirit of Prophecy, the health work, plant-based foods, plant-based diet, medical missionary work is the entering wedge for the third angel's message. It is as if opening the door so people can receive the everlasting gospel. We are told flesh foods lead to sickness and death. Don't miss that. Flesh foods lead to sickness and death. Take a look at these statements. We're also told a plant-based diet is what we need. Why? Spiritually, we're retreating to Eden, the diet God gave to man in the Garden of Eden, eating food in its most natural state, healthy foods. But notice, what is going to be the pushback? As we present these truths, they will say that we are a part, directly or indirectly, a part of the same movement of the World Economic Forum, because they are promoting animal-free products. They are promoting alternative protein. They are promoting what? Listen again, Tedros. Plant-based foods. This is the controversy.
Our food systems are harming the health of people and planet. Food systems contribute to over 30% of greenhouse gas emissions and account for almost 1/3 of the global burden of disease. Transforming food systems is therefore essential by shifting towards healthier, diversified, and more plant-based diets.
Imagine that in the public square. We're giving lectures in conference halls, convention centers, and they say, wait a minute, where have we heard something similar to that? Plant-based, oh, Tedros. And they'll get up and lead the meetings. Oh, UN General Secretary Antonio Guterres. They'll get up and lead the meeting. Okay, we heard that from. You see the point, friends? Klaus Schwab. The controversy is real. Here's one more.
Why? Because people can always start their own currencies as long as they can grow food and they have animal protein.
You see, friends? The controversy is here. I'll give you one more.
When you start to see people like Bill Gates gobble up farmland, and you read what his foundation says about farming, when they say that we're going to have a particular type of agriculture, they want large blocks run by the government or by private consortia where they say we're not going to have animal-based proteins, we're not going to have stockyards, we're not going to have turkey farms, we're not going to have chicken.
Do you see it? So how are we to respond? Tell them, do not link us with those tyrants. Connect us with the Word of God from the Bible. What diet and foods did God give to man when man was created? A plant-based diet, Genesis 1 and verse 29. After sin, Genesis chapter 3 and verse 18, the herbs of the field. Plant-based food was a temporary diet. In heaven, no plant-based foods. On the new earth, no flesh-based foods rather. On the new earth, no flesh-based foods. So are you going to say Jesus is linked to Klaus Schwab? Jesus is linked to the UN and Mr. Guterres? That Christ is linked to Tedros from WHO? That would be asinine and foolish to think that. In heaven, plant-based. On the new earth, plant-based. No sin. When must we get victory over sin? Down here, before we get up there. And then on the new earth over there. That's the point. So we have to make sure we are evangelizing now before it is too late. The vineyard is muddy. The social media space, it's muddy, dark, and thick. Truth must break through. All right, friends. Remember this. Those who control the food controls the people, and that is their ultimate agenda. So what are we to do? My friends, get into the country. Implement the 5 keys of survival. If not, you are going to be caught in the cities. You are going to sell your bodies just to get food. You are going to become a slave to the system. Don't forget these words. You'll bow to get food. You won't be able to survive what is coming. You will receive the mark of the beast. It's time for country living. And if you delay when the opportunities are afforded, you are going to try to leave when it is too late. There's hope, but friends, we have to move right now. Let's segue into our second segment and then close off. Why are the tyrants building more detention facilities, more detention camps, more prisons in all states in America? Watch this, friends. For whom? Not for the illegal migrants, quote unquote, they say are crossing over in America, but for whom? But for dissidents, those who protest against government tyranny.
Presidency, and the federal government is building massive facilities that can sleep tens of thousands of individuals all across the country. You probably haven't heard about these large facilities, have you? Well, why are they being built? Who are they for? We might finally have an answer. Listen.
It's not for these illegals, especially let's go off the numbers that they're telling us that there really are. They're saying, 11 million? In reality, I can tell you right now, with talking to all of the agents that I've talked to, private sector, looking at the cameras and all the real data, we're over 30 plus million who've actually entered this country.
Yep.
And so even with that, even though that's enough to replace about 36 states' population, Why would they need to continue to do that if they're trying to absorb these guys, make them productive members of our society, get them into housing, because we know that there are already housing projects being coordinated with builders, again, with our money. I believe it's to kind of like what Nazis did with the Jews, concentration camps, processing facilities. They're going to need somewhere to process the dissidents.
So it's not for illegal immigrants. Who is it for? Dissidents? We're going to unpack.
Let's unpack it. But first, who is that interviewer? He's J.J. Carrell.
We're going to unpack this with former 24-year veteran of the Customs and Border Protection, J.J. Carrell, who did this interview as part of his new documentary, Treason, scouring the country right now. And you just keep bringing unbelievable revelation after unbelievable revelation as part of this story. And I think, again, most Americans have no idea what is going on, and it's being absolutely kept from the American people right now. And JJ joins us once again.
Well, by God's grace, we are going to inform them. We're going to persuade them. Implement the 5 keys of survival before it is too late. So who was J.J. Carrell interviewing? Christy Hutcherson. Who is she? What is her resume? Here it is.
And you played this clip from someone I interviewed this past weekend. Her name is Christy Hutcherson, and she runs an organization called Women Fighting for America. But her background was federal contracting, and more specifically, abroad, but specifically, she worked on forward operation bases, FOBs, in military war zones, where she would put up these giant soft-sided facilities, water, food, et cetera, et cetera. So we're talking tens of millions, if not billions of dollars, right, that have transferred from her company, which she no longer is a part of. But she has access to all the bid contracts.
And what did she see? Because she has access to several federal databases. She saw several bids coming in to build detention facilities in every state in America. Why? Watch carefully here, friends.
I said, okay, hold on a second. Say that again. She says, okay, I can go into a database because my company used to bid on all this. And I bid overseas, international contracts. Very, very intelligent woman, very, very connected. And she says, I go in the database, JJ, and there's detention facility bids to build individual detention facilities in every state in the union. And then she goes on to say to me, well, JJ, who do you think they're built for? Are they built for all the illegal aliens or the unaccompanied alien children? Of course not.
And now they're going to state the ICE for the acronym ICE facilities are empty. So why are they building more facilities across America when what they already have to house and to process the illegal quote-unquote immigrants, migrants, aliens are empty? Why are they building more?
No, right? Because as your data has suggested, most of these ICE facilities, right? Can you talk about that? Are completely empty.
Yes. Well, they are completely empty. I talked to my buddies in Texas and in San Diego, and I talked to my ICE supervisors, and they tell me, JJ, they're empty. So you're talking anywhere from 30 to 40,000 beds across America, mainly on the southern border, right, are empty. Well, why are they empty? Because we have massive catch and release. Let me explain what this looks like.
Hold it. ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Now, when he said that in the interview, knowing me, I mean, by now you should know how we do things here. I'm going to fact check what he said. Are the facilities presently empty? So why are they asking for more money to build more detention facilities in all states in America? Why are they doing that? Look at your screen here, friends. You know what I did. In the interview, he only stated it with no proof. Here's the headline: ICE detention centers have thousands of empty beds. Despite record illegal immigration. I'll give you a second. By the way, that was Daily Caller. Lest you think it's just some random media site. Washington Times. ICE paid millions to leave detention beds empty. Who said that? The Inspector General in America. What? Yes. So why are they building more sites? Watch this now. This is, where was this again? CPR, one of those states. ICE may release thousands of immigrants for budget reasons. Aurora, that's Colorado. Yes, that's the local news there. Friends, why is it that they're building more detention sites when what they already have is empty? You see, friends, it makes sense. It's for dissidents. Not because he said it, and not because Christine said it, but because the Bible said it. Do you know in the Bible we're told, as Christ was put in prison for the truth, his followers will also encounter the same, some of them. That's John 15 and verse 20. Don't take my words for it. And also, was John the Baptist put in prison for preaching against government tyranny? Yes. Was he beheaded? Yes. It's going to happen to some of God's people in the last days. The apostles put it down. In Acts chapter 5, verse 18 through verse 25, were they placed in prison for the truth's sake and for preaching against government tyranny. Yes. So what will happen to the remnant church? Remnant. Since that transpired in the early church. That's the prophecy. So we must look at current events to see how the prophecy is going to be fulfilled. Stop it right there. Let me speak to some critics and cynics and scoffers and mockers. They're going to say, no, Pastor, those sites and facilities are not to imprison dissidents. It's simply for the illegals. And Pastor, if they were going to imprison God's people, as you said, then we already have prisons. Evangelist, Google for me. Are U.S. prisons overcrowded? Let's see what that says. Are U.S. prison systems overcrowded? If yes, it makes sense. Why they would have to build more facilities, more camps, because what they presently have is already overcrowded. So in 2024, it's already overcrowded, and they're expecting another 10% increase. In what year, you said? In 2024. Think about that. Come back here. Watch. Let this sink in. It's Bible prophecies being fulfilled. That's what we do here.
What Miss Hutcherson is saying.
Now, in this clip, he's going to mention who's behind the scenes. Alejandro Mayorkas, who is Department of Homeland Secretary Chief. Do you know who he is? Watch this. He stand before Congress and tell Congress, give me more money. I can build more beds and more detention facilities to process the people. Here it is.
What Miss Hutcherson is saying is, in coordination with what I know, is you have 40,000 beds. Why would you need more? Mayorkas continues to go in front of Congress and demanding, I need more money for ICE beds. And they say to him, sir, you have no one in them. I'll give you an example.
Nobody in them. Stop right there. Here is what we can add to the conversation. Here is what we can do. We can shine a spotlight and expel darkness and reveal the hidden, sinister agenda. Who is Alejandro Mayorkas? DHS Secretary. Look at that right there. The man is actually Jesuit educated. He is Jesuit trained. What does that mean, my friends? America was established. Its constitution, principles were in direct contrast to what was happening in the old world. We're talking about Jesuitism. wiping out freedoms in the old world. Yes. Jesuits control the kings of Europe, the old world. And Jesuitism was to overthrow Protestantism. Hence, therefore, Protestant America. Give us more money for more beds so we can build more detention facilities. Friends, does Jesuits have a resume? Come on now. Do Jesuits have a resume of hundreds of years in putting God's people in prisons? If not, then leave Mayorkas alone. If that is the case, then we can say Mayorkas is fulfilling the agenda of Jesuitism in America. Here it is again. Notice the connection now with what Christine Hutchison saw. The Holocaust and popery. Holocaust and popery. What happened? Did they build facilities for a particular sect of people? Watch this.
I believe it's to kind of like what Nazis did with the Jews, concentration camps, processing facilities. They're going to need somewhere to process the dissidents.
Do you see it?
So it's not for illegal immigrants? Who is it for? Dissidents?
Do you see it, friends? And notice, is popery connected to the Holocaust? Yes. Not my words, it's their words. People think I'm making things up. The backbone of the slave trade is popery. Babylon, popery, enslaving the souls of men. That's what the Bible says. Don't forget this. The Bible confirms it. John Paul II stated, we have been guilty of actually crimes against Jews. That's what it says. So why are you blaming me? I'm simply telling you what they said in the Holocaust. Pope Pius XII, Hitler's Pope, it's right there, friends. Pius knew well that Jews were being sent to death camps in 1942. Death camps. Is it on the resume of popery? On the resume of Jesuitism? So we base things on the Bible, history, and prophecies. And the current events from Redacted, Clayton Morris, his wife Natalie, and what you're seeing from J.J. Carroll and Christine Hutchison. That's what we do here, friends. There it is again. BBC News. Pope has been guilty of anti-Semitism and the Holocaust. That's what it says, BBC News. You see my point? And what are we told? If it looks like a duck, swims like a duck, quacks like a duck, then it is what? Those of you in the studio, it's what? Thank you, a duck. Move on from that. It goes on to say, Clayton Morris from Redacted said, it's time for people to wake up. This is treason by Mayorkas. Watch this.
I think they're going to look like just the facilities that we're seeing where the children are being held in, those FEMA camps. That's what they're building. They're building FEMA camps. The way she explained it to me was like the way she set up, her company would set up forward operation bases in military zones where they would go in, barbed wire fences, soft-sided, those big white tents that come across. We see the videos. We see it in Hollywood movies where you can put 5, 10, 15,000 people in and just jam them into quarters. And
I should point out, to your point, she's not making this up. This was her job, and she's seeing the bids coming through in the contracts. So this is not fantasy.
No, this is
mercy, friends. Continue.
Do you believe that your federal government has your best interest? It's simple as that. Do you believe our government is malicious and nefarious? Look what they're doing to January 6ers. Look at that. But think of on a massive scale. We don't have to go back far in history. They interned Japanese Americans in camps. So you're telling me this government, the government that's been lying to you for decades, is now all going to be kumbaya and they found God and they're going to do righteous things? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? They locked you in your houses for months on some BS COVID stuff, right? COVID was real, but they locked you in your houses. What happens when we rise up and go, I'm not staying in my houses? Oh, you're not? National Guard, martial law, round them up. So I have.
I can't believe it. Friends, I'm going to post a link below. There are a few clips I didn't put in the lesson here. I'm going to post the clip below. The man said, some of you think that what I'm saying is insane. And then J.J. Carroll went on an actual schooling of the public. He says, if I told you before September 11th that there is going to be a crisis, that they are going to bring down those towers in New York City, and then say, blame some other group and go to war, and would you have believed it? Some would say no. And then they say they have weapons of mass destruction and found nothing over there. Number two, he said, what if I told you that there would be a crisis in America wherein they will release on the population a pestilence, a pandemic, and strip away your rights, keep it in your homes. All your freedoms will be trampled underfoot. Would you have believed? No jab, no job. You would have said I'm insane. That very same thing happened. And then he asked the question, which is worse? What I'm saying right now is on the books, is being built, will take place, or what you have seen so far, which is worse? And of course, what has passed. But things are going to get worse. And that's why it's time to awaken the people. I'll post a link below. You can watch the whole interview. It's about 18 minutes long. But view the interview through the lenses of the Word of God. I leave it there, friends. It's time to implement the 5 keys of survival. We're told God's people are going to be imprisoned. In the book Great Controversy, page 608, God's people are going to be imprisoned. Not all, but there is going to be a number for the truth's sake. So my friends, I'm telling you, it's time to implement those 5 keys of survival. By God's grace, I'll see you tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern for Midday Power Surge. What point stood out to you today? Put that in the comment section. If you have not subscribed, subscribe to this platform. Give the video a thumbs up and share this with other people. As I always say, death before dishonor or the transgression of God's law should be the motto of every Christian. The protest continues.